Welcome back to Rüniverse. I'm Andrew, and this is my second news video update thing, basically where I just collect various stuff I found or heard about and share it with you. So the last one I did, the first one was about 5 weeks ago, and I've been just kind of assembling news items to share, and now it seems like a good time to put it all together. So let's get started. So this is something I technically could have shared with you in the previous video, but it was just starting to come out. And this is basically the news that I had the weird and unique opportunity to do the artwork for a MetaZoo promo card. So this is my Chupacabra here. As you can see, this is on TCG Player, where people are selling their copies secondhand, but this is a promo card that is available through PhD, which is a distributor who handles MetaZoo as well as tons of other products, obviously. But PhD is one of the few distributors who currently has MetaZoo, and they got this promo, and I got to do the artwork for it. So there you go. I am in MetaZoo as a guest artist, and I just thought it was cool and wanted to share that. Next up, as perhaps a pattern from the previous video here, I've just a random piece of art that I found that I really liked. So I really like the color palette, the way this orange and green, but this very jungly forest green. The artist is named Signum Ignitum. This is on DeviantArt, and this picture is called Burning Bright with this kind of spooky three-eyed tiger-looking thing, and it's just a cool piece of art. And here we have Spider-Man No Way Home. So this is a movie that I saw last month around the time it came out, and I really enjoyed it. So this one has tons of great reviews, and I won't spoil anything. I'll just join the masses and say it was great. The second of these Spider-Man films is still my favorite one. I think that's Far From Home, featuring the character Mysterio. I really like the way they implemented that character in the movie. And I won't say anything to spoil that movie either, but I really love that storyline and the way it played out, especially around the transition of the middle first to second act of the movie, approximately. So Far From Home is still my favorite, one of my favorite movies, period. But the way they handled No Way Home here is super cool. Doctor Strange is one of my favorite characters as well, so having him show up was great and highly recommended. And then a bit less of a popular opinion here is Matrix Resurrections. I also really like this movie. So I didn't love it necessarily. I think it is not as good as the first Matrix movie, but that's an insane bar to set. That's an insane expectation to have. I think it was better than the second or third Matrix movies. And some people said it's just too similar to the first movie. They obviously did a lot of intentional callbacks to the first movie, which I appreciated. And as far as the story arc and plotting and characters are concerned, I definitely did not feel like it was a rehash of the first movie. And I really liked it. I'm a fan of The Matrix, and I think they got a really cool setting going on and some really cool stuff happening here. Next up, we'll move into some HTCG content, specifically Rüniverse to start out. And I came across this video in the past couple weeks called Rüniverse Homemade TCG Game Crafter Unboxing. I was completely unaware of it. This is from last January 2021. As you can see from AvaCard Tcg. See if we can get that to show up on the screen there. So you can go check out that video. I had no idea this was out. I went ahead and watched his video. He had some questions, and I don't know. I did leave a comment. I don't know if he will get back to me if he's moved on, or kind of the statute of limitations on helping out with some of his questions. It's probably up by now. I don't think he's got any recent uploads, but that's really cool to see. I'm sorry I missed that, but it's a really exciting find when you just kind of Google your own card game name and you find somebody else's video. And for a more recent pack opening video, Breaking the Seals Episode 1 Rüniverse TCG All Things HTCG. This is a pretty much brand new channel. They got 4 booster deck packs and open them on camera, and there's some really exciting polls in there. So definitely check out this new channel. Hopefully they will cover more TCGs, as the name of that channel implies. Obviously, I'd love to see more Rüniverse content, but seeing a wide variety of packet openings would be really cool as well. Speaking of a wide variety of HTCGs, this is a feature on YouTube that I only recently discovered, and that is that you can customize your channel page. So here's Rüniverse, and if you scroll down, you can see at the bottom, I've added this other HTCGs section, I didn't know that was possible, but you can add little places with have links to other channels and things like that. So I went ahead and added a bunch of HTCG channels. Feel free to check out my page here on YouTube, see if your favorite HTCG or your HTCG is not there. And if it is not there, I will be happy to add it. I'm not trying to be exclusive or anything. It's just those are the ones that I kind of thought of at the time when I was putting that together. So that was kind of a cool thing to find that I can kind of share and point my followers to these other channels. And speaking of other channels, one of my buddies on the HTCG Discord server, Nexvs, has put up a video for the first time in a long time, the history of the Nexvs card game, which is the card game he's been working on forever. He's always improving it and making tweaks to the frame and his art style, and hopefully one day he'll come out with the finished product. But he did a video where he kind of digs back. He's threatened to remove this video, so make sure to go check it out before it disappears. But I definitely love the look of it as it's coming along and look forward to seeing a finished product one day. Next up, we've got Astronomica, which is one of my favorite HTCGs. I think he does a super good job. He's been missing for a while. Guess he's got stuff going on in life. It's kind of crazy. But here, Ether has put up a happy 2022 update video talking about what has been happening with Astronomica and what is coming up. And last in the category of HTCGs for today, I've got this Chaos Galaxy video, the history of homemade TCGs, and this is part 2. If you're just interested in learning more, what is a homemade TCG? What does that mean to different people? What has happened along the way to bring us to the point where we are now? I think Chaos Galaxy did a really good job collating a lot of that information into this and his previous video. So the previous one was, I think, a few months back, so you might have to dig for that one, but this part 2 here is definitely a great installment. Next up, going a very different direction, is a post on the Board Games subreddit with the title, "Is 533 the maximum possible score in Castles of Burgundy?" So you don't have to be familiar with the game Castles of Burgundy to kind of get where I'm going with sharing this. I didn't even read this post. Just the fact that this post exists and the thought process that someone has gone through, I found really intriguing. Basically, what he's done is he's gone through, dissected the game of Castles of Burgundy and tried to calculate if you do every single possible move, every random element comes up in your favor, none of the other players mess with you, what is the highest score possible? And that's a thought exercise that I'm not super interested in digging into specifically for Castles of Burgundy, but it's an interesting place to put your head, just so you can definitely understand a game better after you've thought about it that much, and if you really dig into the numbers, the possibilities, and things like that. And I think as TCG players, we do some of that when we put decks together. You want to know what is the potential of your deck. Well, what's my best opening hand? What's my best opening play? What am I most afraid of from my opponent? What's the earliest I could win the game if my opponent isn't stopping me too much? And those are the types of things we can do in TCGs when we build our decks. And he's kind of taken that almost to a bigger degree, versus this entire game with any kind of setup. So in a sense, TCGs are bigger because there's so many different cards you can use and build your deck in the way you want, but you end up with a smaller collection of cards than something like Castles of Burgundy, where it's got a lot of other random factors going on, and just being able to calculate and crunch the numbers and end up with the number 533, and then bring that to the community and say, can anyone do better than that? I just found it interesting. I don't have anything actionable to do with it, but it's cool to think about. But if you want something slightly more actionable, here is a clip from Brandon Sanderson's Q&A from a recent book release panel. And somebody asks the question about his son who wants to be a writer and he's young. What is a good tip? And Brandon's answer is that the product of your writing is not the book. It's the process of getting better, or your own increased skill. Definitely watch the clip. The link will include the timestamp, so you can just watch the question in question along with the answer that Brandon gives and really get his more insightful answer there. But basically, the lesson he's trying to get at is that when you are, especially when you are newer to a creative hobby, the act of creating, so maybe in our case, it's making cards, making games, making art, whatever it is you're doing, the act of doing that is not necessarily in order to end up with a final product. Sometimes you just need to be willing to let your process be practice without putting a lot of pressure on yourself to have a super amazing final product. you're just going to be getting better. And actually that's a good reference back to Nexvs's history of Nexvs, because I mentioned a lot. He's been iterating on his game a lot over the past 2 or 3 years, I think. And sometimes I gave him a hard time about not having anything done. But as long as you're improving, that is a good enough product. And one day you can end up with the level of skill that you're really happy with before you start saying, okay, you know what, this is finished and I'm where I want to be now. Now there's another side of this, which is some people will just work on something forever and never call it finished, and they want to make it perfect, and that's a dangerous place to be. But especially if you're newer, just viewing the process as a way to enhance your own skills rather than wanting a perfect product at the end, I think that's a good mindset. And finally, we have this recently announced game from Gale Force 9. So it's just a relatively small board game. It's just a $30 game, and this is Doctor Who Don't Blink with the Weeping Angels. Now, there is a couple of things I'm not as excited about here, but I wanted to share it because I really like Doctor Who and I like board games, so I was happy to see this. Although, again, I'm not totally sure I'll be buying it yet, but I'm definitely tempted, especially with that price tag. It's not very high. So I will say the two things I'm less thrilled about is these standees. Normally I'm fine with standees in games, especially because I don't really paint miniatures, at least not yet. I might be trying that out soon. So a lot of times I actually prefer standees because they're going to be full color over miniatures, which are often going to be left as gray plastic. With the Weeping Angels, it seems like such a good, like they're statues, they're gray or, a dirty white color. That's literally the perfect thing to have a miniature of, and they have such iconic stances and poses with their hands out and their teeth, or as all of these standees here, it's just the basic prayer. I'd love to see the different poses of the Weeping Angels as plastic miniatures. And even though I normally prefer standees, it's just this one game seems like it would have been perfect for miniatures, and they did not do it. The other thing I'm not as excited about is this is a 1 versus many game, so it's going to be one player controlling the Weeping Angels against 1 to 4 players controlling the Doctor and his companions. And I'm not normally into 1 versus many games. I wonder if, and they talk about assembling pieces of the TARDIS which were damaged, so I wonder if this is kind of like a Forbidden Desert or Forbidden Island type game, except for with one player controlling the antagonists or something like that. Because I don't like 1 versus many, I wonder if it would work well as a 2-player game, where just 1 player is controlling all the angels and 1 player is controlling all of the Doctor and companions, or if it really needs to be more than 1 player to feel satisfying and even. So I have reservations here, but I think it's cool. Every time I see a Doctor Who game, I'm excited, or really any IP that I like, and every time it's one that I don't like, it makes me a little worried, because I think, well, what if they stop now? What if this is the last one they make? So I'd really like them to keep making Doctor Who games until they make one I do like, and I'm not sure this is going to be one, but I'm willing to take a look. So that's it for this week, month, whatever session of news video. I will start assembling new bits of news as soon as I put this video up in preparation for the next one. Let me know what you think of these news items in the comments below. Subscribe so we can get more subscribers, and bye.